This is the real spoiler this time. I'm not trying to clickbait you. What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. Now, not even 30 minutes ago, OTS 4 has finally been leaked. We've been waiting on these leaks for a long time. I made a video about what I predicted will be in this pack, or what should be in this pack, which is why I made the reference at the beginning of the video about it being clickbait and all that shit. But we finally now have the confirmed set, and it's looking pretty good overall. So without further ado, I'm going to go over all the cards, the ones I feel that are notable anyway, and we're going to be discussing them in depth, think if there's anything else that should have been added that wasn't, and things like that. So starting off with the ultimate rares, there's always 3 of them, and these ones are pretty good for the most part. So we have number S39, Utopia the Lightning, we have Instant Fusion, and Solemn Strike. Now, number 39, Utopia the Lightning, I feel like was a very solid pick overall. I feel like there's more, I guess, generic Xyz monsters that could have fallen in place, like Abyss Dweller or something like that, but overall I think Lightning is a really cool option because it's going to look very good as an ultimate rare. I wish it might have been in the super slot to make it a little bit more accessible for players to access, since for some reason it's still demanding an outrageous price tag, at least here in America, but overall I'm happy with it, and it's going to be a really cool looking ultimate rare. Now, moving on to Instant Fusion. I feel like Instant Fusion is the weakest of the 3, and the reason is because once we move into Link format, I feel like Instant Fusion kind of loses, you know, its potency and what makes it so good and broken. I mean, yeah, sure, we still have Norden, and it's good in Invoked, and all these other different decks. So I think for the time being, Instant Fusion being printed as an ultimate rare is really fucking awesome, and I'm really excited to have it, but I almost feel like it was printed as an ultimate rare in OTS Pack 3 rather than now. I just feel like it kind of had a much more better place in OTS Pack 3 than this one, but regardless, I'm still happy we're getting it, and it's going to be really nice that there's actually still a way now to further max out our decks with another staple that we really wouldn't think that we would get in an ultimate rare. And last but not least, for the ultimates, we have Solemn Strike, which I think arguably is probably the best of the 3, because now it's going to match your ultimate rare Solemn Warning, and this is one of the most generic traps and generic staples that's been in the format for years now, and I definitely feel that it's well deserved because of that. So not really much to say there. Just 3 really solid cards all around. You know, in the last OTS pack, we got Grand Pulse, which people thought was really fucking random, and for good reason. So I think a lot of us are going to be happy with these 3 ultimate rares, just as a rule of thumb. Now, the super rares are really interesting as well. So moving on to the supers, we have Metal Foes Volflame, Ronin Totem, Photon Thrasher, Retaliating Sea, Kumungus the Sticky String Kaiju, DD Swirl Slime, DDD Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok, Blackwing Gofu the Vague Shadow, One Day of Peace, and Union Hanger. So these are really, really good supers. I actually think in my video predicting this set, I actually predicted 5 or 6 of these 10 specifically, which is really good. I mean, that's pretty, I mean, out of all the cards I could possibly put in here, predicting almost half is pretty solid. But going down the list, I think Metal Foes Volflame is a very good call because it's arguably the best Metal Foe Pendulum monster, because it's what you're always grabbing off of counter. It's level 7, it's got the highest attack, all these different things. So I feel Metal Foes Volflame is definitely well deserved in that slot. Ronin Totem is perfect because now the Frog engine is completely rounded off and hollowed out. You got your ulti Swap Frog, you got your super dupe, and now you have your super Ronin Totem. So I think that was a very excellent pick. Super Photon Thrasher is a little bit interesting. It already was printed as an ultimate rare in Astro Pack 1, so I don't really see why it was reprinted again, because it has a rare and a common printing. I guess it doesn't have a foil printing outside of the ultimate, and I guess Photon Thrasher is pretty good because it's a pretty good generic type of monster, and so, you know, you can use it in Invoked and Zodiac now, I guess. ABC, since ABC is still a really good deck. And speaking of ABC, I'll just talk about Union Hanger. Super Union Hanger is going to look so sick, and I'm happy that that card genuinely deserved to be a super rare, because that card is way too fucking good. Retaliating Sea is a little bit interesting as well, because it hasn't really seen a whole lot of play since Metal Foes format, where people were using it as a side in the mirror match and things like that. It's an okay card, I suppose, and I guess it only came in common, so it's pretty much just going to be used as a side deck card, but it's a really nice card that they bumped up to super rare. Cumulus the Sticky String Kaiju, I definitely think that's well-deserved as well, because it's pretty much the second most used Kaiju. I mean, Metal Foes uses it because it's level 7. People like it's level 7 because you can put it up against like a Blue Eyes player, and then they can't like overlay with it. You're going to be summoning it off of your Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. There's just a lot of really good application for Cumulus that I felt like it was the next in line to get printed as a holo before maybe like Jizukiru, and that's only because of Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. DD Swirl Slime and DDD Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok, I guess I can talk about these together since they're both in the DDD archetype. This is another opportunity that I feel like they were a little bit too late on, because DDD has kind of fallen out of favor, even though it's technically still at full power. I mean, maybe for the time being, like, people are going to start picking up DDD again because you got just Paleo, Infernoid, and Zodiac and a few other decks kind of running around. So maybe people might go back to DDD and just experiment with the deck some more. And now you've got a Hollow Swirl Slime, which only came in common before, I believe. And Ragnarok only came as a rare, I believe, in Dimension of Chaos, if my memory serves correctly. So hollowing out the cards in that deck is really cool as well. I think that, again, I think it's a little bit too late, though, but we'll see. Blackwing Gofu the Vague Shadow is fucking awesome as a super rare, because that card just can be used in so many different decks. I know it's limited in the OCG, and it might get limited in the TCG before Link format, because you can make just a one-card Link 3 with it. But regardless of all that, Blackwing Gofu definitely deserves a super rare printing, most importantly. And then there's fucking One Day of Peace, which I don't understand at all. Like, this is the most random inclusion of a rarity bumped card in a set like this that I have ever seen, because who the fuck cares about One Day of Peace being a super rare? Like, maybe back in Exodia format when they were playing 3 of the fucking card and it was actually still legal at 3, but I just don't understand this at all. This makes literally 0 sense to me. This could have been Fairy Tail Snow. Just think about that. This card is taking up the slot where Fairy Tail Snow, who rightfully deserves to be a super rare, could be. Or any other card you possibly could want, One Day of Peace is taking that slot. Fuck that. Okay, so now that I got that out of my system, because I really felt like I had to, let's move on to the commons. So the commons are Water Magician, Bahigon, which I believe is, like, those are the OCG import cards, I believe, for the fusion that we always get. We always get, like, 2, like, random commons and, like, an OCG thing. BES Big Core, Barrier Statue of the Torrent, Barrier Statue of the Inferno, Coach Captain Bearman, Artifact Lancia, Super Anti-Kaiju War Machine Mecha Dogoron, that's the longest fucking name ever, Marine Beast, which is the fusion for the first 2 cards I mentioned, Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max, Coach King Giant Trainer, Seismic Shockwave, Inverse Universe, and Horn of the Fantabeast. Now, there's only a couple commons I want to touch on, because usually the commons are just kind of trash. I mean, except we've gotten, like, Vanity's Fiend as a common before, and that was fantastic, but there's some that I want to touch on. So BES Big Core is because we're going to be getting the BES support, I believe, in Maximum Crisis or something like that. So they're kind of just reprinting Big Core for accessibility, I suppose. The barrier statues really bug me for a couple reasons. First of all, the barrier statues could have been in the super rare slot, but aside from that, they literally picked the 2 worst barrier statues to reprint out of the entire group. Oh, I'm going to play Barrier Statue of the Torrent against my Paleozoic deck, and I'm going to play Barrier Statue of the Inferno against my opponent's Infernoid deck. Like, why the fuck did they think that was a good idea? Like, they could have picked the Abyss statue and the Light statue. Those are the 2 best barrier statues at the moment, because no deck primarily is playing Dark or Light attribute. And then they could have made them super rare to actually give them a rarity bump, and that would have been pretty cool, because there are some barrier statue players, you know, who would have gotten a rarity bump there as well. So I don't fucking understand that. Bearman and Giant Trainer, again, like, Giant Trader could have been a super, but I guess having it common just for accessibility is totally fine. Lancia should have been a super. Like, Lancia should have taken the place of the One Day of Peace, because Lancia is so good against Infernoid, against Invoked, against a plethora of different decks. That card definitely deserved to be a super rare. It's stuck in the common slot, but I guess if anything, at least it got another printing. And then last but not least, the only thing I wanted to talk about, the anti-kaiju war machine actually got updated text, which now means it cannot be special summoned off of interrupted kaiju slumber. Now this may sound stupid, but some places were actually ruling that you could summon it off of kaiju slumber, which meant that you'd be giving your opponent a 0 attack kaiju and giving yourself a 3300 attack Jizukiru. Sounds really fucking dumb, but some people were ruling it that way, but I guess they updated the text that this is no longer an issue. So, guys, that is it for the OTS pack. Overall, I think it's a really good pack. They missed a couple opportunities, like with stuff like Fairy Tail Snow and things like that, but primarily, I think the super rares and the ultimate rares are amazing, and I really hope you guys enjoy them as well. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. Don't forget to back me on Patreon as well, because just by pledging $1 a month, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. And also be sure to put down in the comments what your guys' top picks were for what you wanted to see printed in OTS Pack 4, because I'd really like to get that discussion going in the comments as well. Maybe Konami will see it for OTS Pack 5, maybe they won't, but I still think it'd be a good discussion nonetheless. So thank you guys so much again, and we'll see you next time.